Well, we're in a decent spot, but it can change pretty quickly. Um, Overall, if you were to ask me at the beginning of the year if we were here at this point, I'd be happy. So I'm relatively satisfied. There's some deficiencies in our game, and we have to rectify them. We've got a tough stretch coming up here, a tough road trip coming up here, and then we got a bunch of home games coming up in March. So we're in a decent spot. We got some work to do.
Peter, you look at the team now and say, okay, we're a good team, but let's take a run at this now. If we're going to get in the playoffs, get some immediate help, and see how far we go.
So you asked, am I going to be heavily involved in the rental market? Is that
Yes.
how to?
Even given
Yeah.
the assets you
Yeah,
might.
I'm really not. I really don't want to delve into that market. I think there are areas that we can tinker with. I think the team deserves it based on that they're in the conversation, and we wanted to be in the conversation. We are, but we've made a lot of moves in the summer. They're coming around, and I'd rather see those play out before I enter in that. I just again, things fall in your lap, and we'll see what happens. There's a lot of time left, but I don't see us being heavily involved in that
So
market.
your first round draft choice would not be in play.
Well, I'm just saying we're not. I'm not going to get into specifics, Matty. But we're not going to. It doesn't mean I'm going to trade my first round pick because I've said that. It's just that it's not. I don't think it's the right time for this team. Having said that, there's some areas where we can improve and to help us. And if you get into the playoffs, you never know. So that's kind of the approach we're taking.
Security blanket for Cam Talbot and Will Feed.
Is that a question?
Yes.
I haven't given up on LB, and the coaching staff and I have talked, and he's going to get a chance. And I think his practices have been good. I think his games have been good. So we'll see how that unfolds.
When you're deciding how aggressive to be this year, say with the trade deadline, how much does the timeline of Connor and Leon on these entry-level deals that are reasonable numbers come into play when you're deciding how aggressive to be, knowing that after next season those will go up and maybe things
Right.
tighten up?
Well, that's to suggest that we're going to do a deal with a player with subsequent years on his contract, correct?
Yeah, I mean Connor eventually will.
No, I meant like you.
Trading for a
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you spending more now to get.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're going to be in that mix, Ryan. Well, at least maybe I'm taking your question the wrong way. Are you suggesting that we're adding a significant player with significant years?
Or being more aggressive on the rental market and spending a little bit more, trying to give yourself a chance now while those guys are on those.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. Yeah. As from the planning perspective, we look at this year. We look at potential overages from bonuses that may happen this year. We look at those deals that expire in coming years, and there's some significant ones. And you mentioned Leon's and Connor's. So we look into that. If I'm not really going to mortgage it heavy, I guess is what you're saying this year. Like from a planning perspective, it doesn't make sense. As I said before, I don't think we're quite ready to contend for the cup. You never know. You've seen differently. I know it happened here in 2006. So I just don't see us being big players in that regard from a planning perspective.
Do you think the expansion draft looming, does that alter conversations at all amongst the GMs? Has it been different this year because that's in the back of everybody's mind, or not really?
No, it's been different. It's certainly a kind of a checkpoint when you're conversing with these guys, and what are your everyone knows what everybody's expansion liabilities are. Everybody like if you've done your homework, and all teams have done their homework, they know. So you go through that point in your discussion, and you just have to accept you're going to lose somebody. I think that at the end of the day, and you can't revolve your planning around which player you're going to lose. So we're in pretty good position expansion-wise. We talk about it when I talk to other GMs, but beyond that, I'm not doing cartwheels to try and, to figure out the expansion draft.
You've been a pretty high-scoring team all season long. Obviously, Connor and Leon have led the way. Patrick Maroon having a great year. Some of your big money guys haven't had great years, even though your secondary scoring is coming from other places. Lucic, Eberle, Nugent, Hopkins, Pouliot, those 4 guys specific. When you watch them, can you talk about what you need to see more from them individually?
Well, I'll talk about them as a group, but I'll talk about secondary scoring, and we need to be better at it. It's an obvious statement. We put pucks on net. We don't really get those garbage goals off of rebounds. I think we're shooting well. I'd like to see us shoot better. We overpass at times. It's a fine line because we came off, and I've seen it almost year to year in my career. I mean, you come off of a loose game. I believe it was Nashville. Was it before the mini? No, it was a loose game on our part before the All-Star break, prior to the 2 games in California. Anyway, there's a
You lost to Nashville.
yeah. So then we're thinking we got to tighten it up. We got to tighten it up because it was like so. Of course, then you put things in place to tighten it up, and then sometimes it's tough to come out of that mental framework that we got to be tighten it up. So there's a bit of that going on, and that's certainly not a knock on coaches. It's like it had to be done, and I know the guys are squeezing their sticks. So it goes in cycles, and I know I wasn't at the previous practice to yesterday, but yesterday was a good practice from the shooting perspective, and it'll come.
How much will these next few weeks kind of dictate what you do around the trade deadline day, or whatever do you expect anything to change from the stance that you were just kind of suggested earlier, that you don't expect to be that active? Well, these next 2 weeks, how much does that go into play in your decision-making process?
Really, that's my approach. Like if we lose all the games, will it change? Or if we win all the games, will it change? I doubt it.
Jesse Puljujarvi's starting to get comfortable in the American League. Are you more content having him stay there and get more confidence rather than bring him back up?
I was down there a couple of weeks ago. I watched 2 games against Stockton. He's getting a lot of touches, and you could see his confidence is coming back. The defensive side of the game is getting better, and he's made a lot of progress down there, and he's playing a lot of minutes. So he's going to be in the conversation come the deadline. He's a dangerous player down there. Like he's far and above the most dangerous player I've seen in both the games down there. So I was happy with what I saw.
What about Reinhart? What have you seen in his development?
He's played very well. He's and I had a good meeting with him when I was down there. He's very assertive. He's moving the puck. He's putting up points. He's joining the rush. He's made a lot of strides. We at the end of training camp, we talked to him, and we said we want, I thought he had a disappointing training camp. We talked to him, we told him, and we said you got to go down and just focus on your game, and we mentioned some things that I just mentioned, and he's done it, and he's been terrific at it.
Sorry to interrupt. You talked last summer a little bit about maybe that power play defenseman. You went into the season knowing that was still maybe, you were going to try Clefbaum, try Sekera. How have you felt about the guys that have stepped into that spot on that number 1 power play unit? And do you still feel like that answer is internal, or do you think that eventually that needs to be addressed?
Well, I'm happy with our D. Like when everyone is playing, I'm happy with it, and we're going to be getting a pretty good D-man back, and he'll be rusty, but Darnell will be back shortly. So be careful what you wish for, in the sense that yes, it'd be nice to have a pure power play D-man, and I've been satisfied with Reggie and with Clef on their respective units. Yes, we could do better in the sense that we could always improve our power play, and if that is the solution, certainly it's one of them, but that's certainly not on my shopping list this trade deadline.
Is that position very expensive acquisition at the trade deadline traditionally? Does that seem to go outside the scope that you've described to us and what you're looking to spend?
Yeah, it is, and frankly, you saw what it took to get a top 4 right-handed D, and yeah, you can extrapolate from there.
Peter, your team has made a lot of progress in the last 12 months. How do you think it's handled coming so far in such a relatively short amount of time?
I don't know. Like, that's a good question. You know, we're in the dog days now, the real grind, and maybe that's a better question posed in a month's time, because these are the games that really count. You've got teams jockeying for positions, jockeying for their lives. I think they're enjoying it. I get the sense of that just being with them away from the rink when you're on a road trip. I've talked to a few of the guys, and they're enjoying it. I think they're feeling the pressure a little bit. I think that's part of why you're seeing that scoring dry up a little bit. But that's part of this game, and you know, if they weren't feeling that, I'd be a little concerned. So these are challenges ahead, and I would think that they relish them, and like as I said, we're in the conversation. I hope we stay there.
When you talk about Russell, where is your headspace with him? He's an unrestricted free agent, but you've got 3, Clefbaum and Larson and Sekera, and you got Darnell Nurse. And in terms of signing him, he's going to eat up some money too.
Well, I think he's done very well with us, and notwithstanding the kind of the analytic firestorm around him, I think he's been a real good addition for us. And we tend to struggle when he's out. I think he's a very calming influence on our group. I think he's helped Reggie in his pairing. And he's a real competitive guy, and he brings some leadership. So those are all positive attributes, and that's what I can tell you about my feelings on him.
Peter, as far as where you guys are in the plan, the 5-year plan or whatever long length the plan had, does this team have to make the playoffs this year in that scope, or if they come up short, you still say we've made a lot of progress this year?
I'm happy with. I'm satisfied with where we are. I haven't really liked our last little bit, but it's a long season. I wanted to be in the conversation, and we are. So, I mean, if we make the playoffs, I'd be ecstatic, because it really helps the development of these players to see what a playoff series or tour is like. The fact that they're competing right now and they're feeling the pressures, and that's very positive for their development also. But of course, I'd like to make the playoffs.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.